Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfucking Your CX. I'm your host, Zack Hamilton, which we know what you're really intrigued about is who's joining the hot seat today, what are they coming to unfuck, and what can you learn from them? Uh, I'm pretty stoked about this next guest, an operator at heart, but now starting a company to solve problems. Ardie, welcome to the hot seat, man.
Zach, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's before we jump into it, Artie, I always like to ask, uh, you know, the person in the hot seat to set the tone. Like these conversations just typically don't pop up. It's when you're in your safe space. So for you, is that favorite restaurant, bar? Are we on a walk? We working out? Like, where are we doing this thing today?
Yeah. No, I love the question. Unfortunately, right now I'm in a little phone booth in our WeWork. So we're a startup. We're operating out of a little scrappy WeWork. But in general, I think where I'd love to get the creative juices going and have those debates and conversations is two places. I'm a big fan of long walks and
Mm.
doing it over something like that. And I also like going to the local bar and sitting down and having an old fashioned or a neat whiskey scotch kind of type of drink. So those are my preferred locations.
Yeah, very nice. And you're in Seattle, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
right outside of
So
Seattle. Yep.
yeah, so long walks there, amazing. I mean, you can't get much better of a view or scenery.
Well, I'm biased. I love the Seattle area. I think it gets a bad rep. With always rainy and cloudy, it has a lot to offer. Yeah, so it's beautiful.
Yeah, Seattle's always been. I mean, I've traveled so much, and I love seafood. So of course, the fresh seafood, the fresh fish, the fish market. I always have to return back to when I hit Seattle.
But we got to make it a point to next time you're out here.
Yeah,
We'll go grab
abs-
a drink and some seafood.
absolutely. Well, Artie, you are an operator by trade. Um, And especially when you think about, just operations in general, doesn't matter what industry that you're in. It seems like performance is a big topic that's happening, especially with companies here lately in the macroeconomic pressures. What's one of those topics that keeps coming up in customer experience or operations that's making you cringe that you're trying to solve for?
Yeah. We built this business and this startup. It was born out of just it's a love story to operators. I'm a technologist operator at heart. And the way we think about it is we want to solve problems of getting out of folks out of the kind of weeds of firefighting and playing defense all the time and being more predictive, proactive, and embedding intelligence into, how you make decisions. And so it's a I'm kind of answering the question, but the big kind of thing that makes me cringe is you know fragmentation is really killing CX. And so when you think of the typical day, which you and I know really well, we've had firsthand experience, is you're just flooded with so much pressure. And you're keeping the lights on and you're playing such an important role in the business and you're often ignored. And you have all these different systems that are barking at you and that aren't connected. And there's all this kind of AI point solution hype that's out there.
Yeah.
So I would say fragmentation is the thing that really makes me cringe. And what our business is trying to solve for is really putting those operators in the position to run their business how they deserve to.
Yeah, there's a couple things you said here that I think is so important. It's really interesting. I was having a conversation with a CX leader. This was right before the holidays, and she was so excited just to have a break. She's like, I felt like the last 2 quarters has been nothing but quote unquote firefighting. We're just chasing issues. And one of the questions that I stopped her with, Artie, was, well, how much time do you spend on like firefighting and chasing issues or chasing just insight reports versus working kind of in that strategy zone, right? And that design and creativity zone. And I think it hit her with a ton of bricks because she's like, I couldn't tell you the last time I was actually in that kind of strategic zone. And I think so many CXers are feeling this right now. And I'm just curious, like, look, fragmentation of insights, breaking down silos. We've been talking about that for 20 years,
Yeah.
right? Like, why can companies not get this right? Like, why is this still an issue 20 years later?
Yeah. No, great question. And I had firsthand experience. In my past life, we didn't have your typical contact center. We had agents that were clinicians, physicians, doctors, care advocates, and it was incredibly complicated. Um, and I think the one good sign, obviously, there's a bunch of good promise in terms of the advancements of technology and artificial intelligence and machine learning. But I think this is there's breakthrough moments here to where if you just cross over the hype, you could really take a look at how can we put, there's going to be this rise of super operators, of folks that are going to be not managing, and reacting to problems and leading indicators, or excuse me, lagging indicators, but more so having the tools to really understand their business, connect them into what's going on. Their attention is really important. Their decisions that they have to make are really important throughout the day. And unfortunately, you hit it on the nail. Like they're just reacting. And there's an opportunity here to really kind of flip the script and say, listen, when you're reacting and firefighting every day, you never can be strategic. You can't think about tomorrow. You can't think about, what's going on. And these tools are failing you. The operators are very competent. They're strong. They know their business in and out. I used to hate Zach. I'm sure you probably, since the nature of the show is we can curse. I fucking hated when technology companies would come and pitch and they never spent a day in the contact center. I hated that. I was like, hey, do you even understand? Like, walk the floors with me. Do you understand how this works? This is incredibly hard, complicated. Ops is really difficult to manage. There's
Yeah.
people, there's processes, there's systems and tools. Everybody has their own roadmap. It's not connected. And you have your CFO, your CEO down your neck asking you to do more with less. And so, and by the way, it's the biggest cost center on the P&L. So it's all about margin and productivity, and you own quality and the experience side. So we built this business for them so that we know the types of things that they need to be looking for and surfacing up the right things. But it's all built off of really the gold that they sit on, which is their data and their data sets and their CX suite and all of these different things talking in a way that is able to give them what they need. So I don't think there's any issue with the operators. They deserve better.
Yeah.
I think there is a breakthrough moment here, Zach, where we can do more with our technology in a way that's really built and molded around what operators need.
Yeah, I'm spot on with you on this. And I think part of what I've been trying to get in the minds of CX leaders here lately is um, they didn't fail, right? The model has failed them. So if you think about kind of experience 1.0, it was that kind of reactive service and recovery, right? Which is really where customer service and the contact center was born. And everything was very, very reactive. And then if you think about experience 2.0, that's it really taught us in traditional experience management how to listen, right? Better in multiple channels. But if you think about it, the service and recovery culture still remained very predominant in 2.0, and that firefighting continued to happen. And as now we are moving into this, you know, experience performance era, we're still firefighting. And to your point, yes, there's a lot of hype around agents and there's a lot of hype around just be proactive, right? If we're just more proactive. And I remember I was sitting in when I was on the buyer side, I'll never forget, I was sitting in a meeting where a SaaS company was trying to sell me on something. And of course, it's like buzzword bingo and like proactivity, just at least probably 12 times. And I was probably I don't know what kind of mindset I was in, but I'll never forget, Ardie. I looked at him, I said, do you even know what fucking recovery's like? And he just kind of looked at me like, what do I do? But I think, Ardie, to your point, this is where I'm getting at. When when we're constantly firefighting as CX leaders, we're taking on the ownership of someone else's friction. that has happened upstream in the customer journey that they actually need to own and redesign the policy or the experience, whatever it may be. And this comes back to like your decision piece. Why do you think CXers are struggling to, one, leverage their insights to drive decisions in their organizations?
Yeah, you said a lot of important things in there that I full-heartedly 100% agree in. Number one, I think what you hit on is your service delivery model and your blueprint has to change. It has to adapt and evolve. Technology is not going to fix that for you. Like you have to evolve what your service delivery model is and how you're thinking about, the end user experience, and then the underlying processes and how you're managing against that from an operations standpoint. Number two, on the technology front, I think what's really important is here, and this is hopefully it's not a controversial thing, is AI is only going to work if it's grounded in your business DNA. And so if it has context of your business, then you can shift into being more directing intelligence versus managing people and tools. And I think that's where things shift pretty fundamentally. And at Scala, the way we think about this and how we're building the UI so it's seamless, easy, it's not flooding you with a bunch of flashy, capabilities. It's just it understands what's going on in your business. But ultimately you're the business owner, you make these decisions. And so the most important thing, and is there's really three levels of intelligence. There's what we are thinking as tactical intelligence of like, hey, you need to drive your business. You have SLAs, you have performance, you have your people, you have a lot of things happening. Queues are on fire. There's decisions you have to make throughout the day to make sure you could deliver this incredible experience. Then what we say is there's actionable intelligence, like insights. Who cares about insights? Who cares about, buzzwords like proactive if you can't do anything about it? Like if you're not in a position to actually be able to make decisions and implement them on the fly, then it doesn't really matter. So that's what we think of as actionable intelligence. And then over time, obviously you want to be more strategic, and you want to think ahead, and you want to think about value creation and the upstream piece that you talked about. um, and that in itself, that's how we're thinking about the space. But
Yeah.
it starts, in those layers. And I do think, obviously I'm bullish. Like I'm in the middle of building a company here, and we think that we have something unique and differentiated that we can offer to operators that speaks their language. But it does require, there's muscles you have to build in your organization. You have to understand change management, and you got to understand how to adopt and utilize technology properly. You have to challenge all the sacred cows in your business, and you got to be able to think about how you look at your service delivery blueprint. One final thing is, I'm a huge fan of your show. I've watched a lot of the prior episodes. You're having world-class operators on, which I actually love. This isn't, and these are folks that are thinking about these decisions, deep respect to them, that are understanding where there's trade-offs and how they have to make some of these decisions, how to evolve their business over time. And it's not easy. And so, it's one of those things to where I wish I had this like magical answer for you, but the reality is I think you and I both have a deep appreciation for what it all looks like in reality.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I love how you broke down those things. I think one of the greatest myths that I've seen or heard so far is, I think there's this misconception or myth that an agent is about execution, which is right, right? They're going to execute a task. But more importantly, agents or agentic CX, or however you want to frame it, the most critical element about them is decision making. And to your point, they will execute the decisions that you program it, teach it, whatever. And it's only going to expose your level of decision making, whether it's great
100%.
or bad or just not even happening. Right. And so, what's really, I'd love to just get your point before we jump into the player tips. I was having this conversation with a retail CEO last week, and she said, if you look at her P&L, they're very profitable. But the number one thing that keeps her up at night is decision debt. Not technical debt, not, hard debt that they have for all their retail and all those things. She said, I know there's hundreds of decisions that need to be made every single day. And as an organization, I think there's a fear um, globally about making decisions. And she's like, one of the things that I'm trying to do is empower our teams to make those decisions so we don't have this decision debt built up within our organization, because that's the one thing that's going to keep us legacy and in the past is not making decisions. And so when you think about, what you guys are building and you think about kind of your player tips, what's that first player tip you have when it comes to that whole decision making piece?
Yeah. I think the first thing that organizations and businesses need to do is what you touched on, which is like understand your supply chain. Like forget technology for a second. Like understand you have a unique supply chain within your business and how you create value to your end user. Break it down, understand it, challenge it. Every business has some sort of level one through level five engagement, where level one is more, think of it transactional, all the way to high complexity, high value. So break that down, understand that, spend some time in terms of thinking about what that looks like. And that becomes kind of scaffolding of like how you think about, your business and how you can potentially change or augment and be able to evolve your business. Two, as a player tip, as somebody that is an operator building for operators and a technologist, you know don't think of, please don't do bolt-on AI. It's not going to work. Bolt-on AI is not going to work. So, and the operators know this. You have a CX suite right now. You have a bunch of different systems, whether it's your WFM, your telephony, your chat, your
Yeah,
experience. You have all these different things. They're all trying to pitch you AI solutions and roadmaps. And the worst thing you can do is make a bunch of these decisions and they're not talking to each other. And then all of a sudden you have inconsistent experiences and you're not in control anymore. And by the way, it's very costly, and the ROI isn't there. So I would say working with companies like ours, where we think about it as a unified platform intelligence layer,
yeah.
embed it in your business, make it ubiquitous in your business, and let it understand what's going on and let it work for you versus be kind of the other way around. So my biggest player tip is don't do bolt-on AI. It's not going to work. You're going to be very disappointed.
I love that. I think you just nailed all three of them. I'm going to jump back to that first, that the couple of them that you said here. So, to me, when I think about that player tip number one, like understanding your supply chain, it's so interesting how many CX leaders I talk to who fundamentally don't understand how their businesses work. Right. So when you like, one of the questions I'll ask is, when was the last time that you read your company's 10K? Or if they're a publicly traded company,
Right.
that you've actually dialed in and listened to the earnings calls and listened to how the analysts, challenge your CEO and CFO back about specific results or why they believe this specific strategic initiative is going to deliver back in the business. I find it bizarre, right? That we demand a seat at the table, but yet we don't fucking know how our business works. Like, that's the first one. Your second player tip, um, I'm with you there as well, because so many organizations, when it comes to decision making, they do it in isolation, to your point, where no one knows what decision is actually being made. And that's what's creating so much friction within the customer journey. And it's unintended, right? It's not intended, it's unintended. Um, but it's massive. And then your third one, I mean, I always just like to ask the question, what problem are you trying to solve as an organization?
Right.
Like, and I think the other piece to your point, what I loved you saying about making decision and resolving friction, is there's so many agentic companies out there for the customer service center that's doing a really good job of like the containment loop, right? Where an inbound service request is coming in, whether it's call or chat or whatever it is, and the agents are solving it, right? And so there's 80+% first contact resolution.
Resolution. Right.
CSAT is increasing because they're not spending so much time on hold. But then when you ask them, When you think about, and of course, like FTE costs, you can start to eliminate FTE. So it looks really sexy at the very beginning because it's like we're exceeding what the humans did. We can operationalize it out of the business, the cost of FTE. But actually, what you're deferring over time is cost to serve is going from human led to technology led. It's
Right.
stuck in this containment loop,
Right.
and the frictions don't get solved. So the friction tax that's happening upstream in the journey actually has like a 10x impact financially to your business than the humans that you just let go.
And Zach, it's and some of this stuff is unintentional, right? You're going like, oh, I need some. It's you don't know you're making short-sighted decisions.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll this is a good analogy that I think like resonates with most folks. We were talking about going grabbing a drink when you're here. Is you know if you look at a restaurant, there's a lot of tools out there in the CX ops contact center space that are solving for like the host. Making the intake experience easy, better, conversational AI or, low level automation up front, self service, this, that, and the other. What we believe is hey, you need to understand the host, the server, the bar back, the kitchen manager, the cooks, the bartender, to all the way to dropping the check at the end
Mm.
of the experience. That is your whole entire experience. So if you just solve one little thing, or you think you're solving one little thing in that whole kind of, call it supply chain,
Yeah.
you don't know, like you might be actually uh, potentially creating more problems for yourself. And so I think this concept of, automation is important, no doubt, and being able to reduce tasks and mundane administrative tasks, no problem. Cool. Like you got to empower your people, level up your people. But if you really want to drive real transformation, you have to look at the entire business end to end and think about it from an intelligence layer versus like, AI will give you incremental improvements to what you said. That will be kind of surface level stuff. But I'm rambling, but I'm saying like I'm
No,
so all in with what you're saying.
I think
Um,
that's such a great analogy. We can close it out here in the restaurant. Um, I am not a patient person. I hate to wait. So I will not wait longer than 15 minutes to sit down. So, my wife and I have gotten good at leveraging Open Table, get our reservation, like things like
of
that.
course,
Um, but we had this experience not too long ago. We were traveling with our family, and it was a restaurant that we wanted to go to. They weren't on Open Table, but we drove by and it was like, hey, it looked busy, but the wait time was like 5 minutes. I was like, amazing, let's all go. We sat down within 5 minutes, but it took 20 minutes for the waitress to come to us. Then it took another 45 minutes for our food to get to us. So, to your point, they did a really great job of intaking, getting us seated to make it
right?
real for us like, okay, this is great. But I actually ended up leaving there just frustrated because it was almost like surface level, everything looked great, but it was just like a bad experience that, quite frankly, interrupted what the taste of the food was.
Yeah, totally with you. Well said. I mean, it's yeah. There's a funnel in every business, and there's steps. And if the more you understand that, back to the kind of first player tip of understanding what your supply chain is and your blueprint, then you
Yeah.
can be really thoughtful and purposeful around how you go and attack some of these things or reinvent or disrupt yourself and just kind of evolve as a business. So, biggest one to my friends out there, please don't go just buy AI solutions and bolt them on. Um, I don't recommend that. Look for partnerships where they're actually tethered to really adding real value,
Yeah.
and moving the needle for your business.
It's utter chaos, right? Well, Artie, this has been an awesome conversation. If any of our listeners want to go deeper or just explore kind of what you're building, where can they find you?
Yeah, yeah. We right now we're kind of in stealth mode, so there's a lot that's being announced. We have our site, Scala.ai. You could check out our LinkedIn page. You could hit me up. Definitely, ping me on LinkedIn. Would love to get different perspectives and to anyone out there. And Zach, I really appreciate this. This is an awesome show you have. And yeah, really, really appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And for all of our listeners, inside of the newsletter, I'll have direct links to Ardie and team as well. Ardie, thank you for coming on, man. Come back soon.
Cool. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers, dude.